Welcome, everyone, to the DI How Do I webinar series. So glad you all could make it. Want to just let you know that my name is Shawnee. I am the training evangelist here at Dealer Inspire. And what I do is bring you all the information that you need to know for all the great work that we're doing here. I also happen to bring in awesome guests, so we'll get to that very soon. Just to let you know that if you have any questions, I keep everybody muted, so if you have any questions, you can send them via the chat board or whatever on your GoToMeeting, or we can hold off till the end and we'll have a little Q&A session and ask for your questions then. Excuse me. Also, if you missed this webinar, if you wanted to see again because it's so amazing, you want to share it with your friends, whatever, this video will be posted online within 24 hours after we finish up here. So that being said, I want to introduce Mark McCarthy. Oops. Mark McCarthy here. He's our creative director, and he is the guy that's going to talk to us all about marketing to the brains of people. And well, I tried to unmute him. Somebody, it looks like some people get dropped off here, so I hope that everybody's still there. So anyway, I'm gonna fill some time because I like to talk. So Mark, he is our creative director, and he's the guy that is, all these great strategies and stuff. He's the brain behind them. He's the one that's kind of helping you get these marketing strategies going. Comes up with some amazing creative ways to really catch people's attention and to basically get them to do what you want them to do, which is buy a car. So with all that hullabaloo, Mark, you with me?
Yep, I'm up and running.
All right, sweet. Okay, well, while you kind of introduce yourself, I'm going to hook you up here, and we'll kind of go a little bit about what you're going to talk about today.
All right, great. Can everybody see my screen, Sean?
Yep, I can see it. You're good.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Shawnee. Excited to be here. Thanks to everyone for coming out. This one's going to be a little different than usual. Instead of diving straight into the Dealer Inspire platform and learning more about everything it can do for you, we're going to first dive into the human brain and talk about a few ways that the DI platform and our launch digital marketing services are designed to connect with your customer's brain. So stay with me. All right, so let's take a look at the brain. It's not pretty, but there's a lot going on up there. Your brain is one big organ that tries to make sense of the world for you. And a huge part of that is through your vision. We're going to talk a lot about vision today, visuals. 20% of the brain, the occipital lobes there in the back, you're going to need to remember that for the quiz at the end, they're 20% of the brain. In fact, when your eyes are open, nearly 70% of the electric impulses in your brain are related to vision. That's taking up a lot of the brain's operating power, so naturally we're going to talk a lot about visuals and design today and how we craft our website design and our marketing efforts towards appeasing the back of that brain. We'll also be traveling to the frontal lobe there in the front where your customer's decision-making goes down. This is where a customer's brain is going to decide whether or not to buy a car, whether or not they'll treat themselves to the higher trim level, or just play it safe. So let's dive into exactly how this works. The first thing you should know about the human brain is that I know you probably love it, and it's it's the most powerful brain in the animal kingdom, but it can also be pretty stupid. And to show you how stupid it can be, I'm going to use some visual examples of our brains letting us down due to context. And Shawnee, I hate these, but we need to show them to make a point. But
yes, absolutely.
So this first example is called the Ponzo illusion, and it shows how we can struggle with depth perception. Those two middle lines are identical lengths, but they look like different sizes in the context of the two converging parallel lines. So the context is making our brains lie to us. This one isn't too mind-blowing. I'm trying to start you off easy, but let's up the ante with the Muller-Lyer illusion. I truly refuse to understand this one. These lines are supposedly all the same length, and it just breaks my mind. I don't know what you're seeing, Shawnee.
I'm seeing three different lengths.
The explanation behind it is that the arrows are tricking our brains into believing that this is like a 3D space that we're looking at, like the corner of a wall. Um, but honestly, this one upsets me so viscerally that I would just like to move on if that's okay with you. There's no
Yeah.
under. Okay, so one more. This one's cool. The Herman grid. Our brains see gray dots in between the white and black grid, even though they're not actually there. But if you focus on one particular square, just kind of zoom in and look at one particular square, there's no gray dots there. Once again, context is making our brains lie to us. Now, there's a theory that this is because like our neurons are competing against each other to try to see the light and the dark parts of the image at the same time, but we don't even know for sure. That's just a theory. Our brains still haven't figured out why our brains suck at this. Which I can't handle this one
Oh,
right now.
oh no.
We're not kidding. This one almost broke the office, let alone my own mind. So,
Yeah, I think the divorce rate went up like 80% after that came out.
so the point of those was to show that our brain is letting us down because of context, and that's really scary because vision is supposed to be one of the things our brain is the best at. So if we're vulnerable to visual illusions, then what else are we vulnerable to? If our brains can be tricked into seeing things the wrong way because of context, can they be influenced into making irrational decisions because of it? The answer is yes, very much so. So let's start with the psychological effect that we're all familiar with. You may not know it by name, but this is something you see in every day, whether it's at the mall or at your dealership. Okay, we see this in every single industry. Instead of just a straight up price, we see a quote unquote original price crossed out with a new lower price under it, whether it's a sale or a discount or whatever. In this example, the heels on the left just look really expensive to me if I'm just seeing them by themselves. If I'm going to spend $150 on those things, they better come with Bluetooth or have some serious torque. Like, that's a lot of money. But if they were presented to me at first like they are on the right, where they're marked down from $500 to $199, now I view them totally different. Even I'm buying those heels, honestly. Like, I don't care if I start to wear heels as an investment. Like, maybe I'll start wearing heels. That's just a great deal. That's just good fiscal sense to buy these heels. That's the deal of a lifetime, 60% off. So this happens because because the value we put on the heels is anchored by the initial number we see, that $500. So for the marked down heels, my perception of their value is anchored by that $500, even if that $500 was completely made up. The anchoring effect works because our brains are not able to give items a pure objective value, a value that will remain constant no matter the day or the context. Unfortunately, our brains use comparative value, which means they value an option compared to the other options that they're seeing at that present time. This psychological principle is obviously already used in the automotive space, and Johnny, it's probably been going on since caveman times when they were bartering like elk for arrowheads. This is since the dawn of time, but it serves as a nice entry point to the more advanced concepts we're about to hit that also use context to positively frame a product. Oh, and by the way, anchoring doesn't only affect our perception of value pre-purchase, it can be even more powerful in the post-purchase stage. For example, say you had an inventory of bike racks that you really wanted to get rid of. If you tried to sell these without any other context, your customers may look at that $130 bike rack as a part of their monthly budget that they just can't part with. You know, that could be a week of groceries to them. But if you sell it to a customer who has just purchased a car, it looks like chump change. I just spent $25,000 on a new car. What's another $130 to make it as awesome as I want it to be?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, Mark. But I also, it's also important to note, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you want to make sure that that add-on also pertains to whatever you just sold. So, for instance, if that was a Lotus something or other car, I only know the Lotus part, then you don't want to, selling something like a bike rack is, just not going to work. But a Subaru, yeah, it's going to work perfectly. Is that right? Is that
Of
another point?
course, putting that bike rack on the old Subaru up back there made sense for this example, but this could really be any accessory, any add-on, any warranty. It would all make sense. It's just the same principle.
Right.
Okay, so let's take that anchoring effect, but what happens if we introduce another variable into the mix? This is called the decoy effect. And this is a really famous example from Dan Ariely on a TED Talk. And Dan found this real ad for a subscription to The Economist, and he used it to see how adding a seemingly useless choice to the mix affects our decisions. So to begin with, there were these three choices. You can subscribe to The Economist web version for $59, the print version for $125, or subscribe to both the print and the web version for $125. The combo price is the same as the print-only price. So, Shawnee, which one are you feeling here? Which one are you going to go for?
Well, this is kind of a no-brainer. I'm getting that $60 free, so I'm going to go for the print and web because they forgot to, add money to that.
Yeah, that middle option is like hilariously useless, right? If you're going to spend $125, why would you not just get the web subscription for free?
Right. Even if I never use it, I still want it.
Exactly. You got to get your value out of it.
Right.
So it looks like the middle option is a mistake, but it's more likely genius marketing, and we'll show you why. Dan gave this form to 100 MIT students and asked them which option they would choose. 84% were on board with Shawnee, and they chose the combo deal for $125. 16% chose the cheapest version, the web-only option. And of course, nobody chose that middle option. But what happens when you remove the useless option? What part was that playing in this decision? When Dan removed the seemingly useless print-only option, which nobody wanted, and tried the experiment again with another 100 students, the results completely flipped, as now everyone's jumping on the cheapest option, because now it just becomes a choice between two options. Do I want to go for the expensive one or the cheap one? And there's no anchor to it. So even though nobody wanted that middle one for $125 for the print, it was actually the determining factor in influencing customers to go for the expensive option, because it made the expensive option seem more valuable in context. So the point to all of this is that our brains make decisions based on context. So all you have to do is position what you want to sell with other options that create a favorable context for it. So let's take a look at a couple examples with cars just to drive the point home. So for example, when we're presented with two trim levels, the base and the very top of the line trim, your customer has a simple choice between affordability and luxury, just a matter of their preference at the time, their circumstances. Do they want the affordable option or do they want the luxury option? But what happens when you add an unappealing option into the context? Now the top of the line option looks superior because it's offering a superior value in relation. Customers will ask, why go for the middle option when for just 50 more bucks I can get the absolute best model out there? Even though those same customers may have clearly wanted the cheapest option when they first started looking at only two options. Let's try one more with the added variable. Let's say car A has a 100,000-mile full warranty and costs $20,000. Car B has a 70,000-mile warranty and costs $15,000. Again, in this case, there are two clear choices, right? You either want the longer warranty or you want to save money and have a shorter warranty. But let's say you at the dealership really need to sell some car A's. Those car A's have been on the lot so long that they're starting to haunt you, and you want to get them off the lot. So what can you do? You can introduce car C, which has an 85,000-mile full warranty, but costs $22,500. So when you compare car C to car B, it's not that different than that original comparison. Car C has a longer warranty, but it costs more. But now, if you compare car C to car A, it makes car A look like a real winner because not only does it have a longer warranty, it's also cheaper. So now it has a longer warranty and it's cheaper, so it automatically looks like the best value within this group. Okay. The decision-making part of the brain that we wanted to cover and what you can do. Go forth and use those psychological principles for good. And that can really be on any platform, whether it be a display banner, whether it be on-site content, a pre-roll commercial. This principle will hold up in any platform, and it's a very powerful way to frame the product you want to sell in a positive light. Now we're going to travel back to the back of the noggin where all the visual processing goes down. This is important for you to understand because nowadays there are so many visual marketing messages out there, wherever you look, whether you're walking down the street or especially on your computer, that you have to understand how the brain works to make sure yours gets noticed, and noticed in a positive light. There's a lot of numbers thrown out there about how many ads we see per day. Some say 5,000, some say 700, but there's really no debate among consumers that there's just too many. It's a complete sensory overload. True story, the eggs I bought at the grocery store last week, they had an advertisement logo on the egg for a CBS TV show. Okay? Like, nothing is sacred anymore. The advertisements can go on really any inch of our world, and that's never been more true than on the internet.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah. So as a result, we've become so accustomed to advertisements that our brains have basically become conditioned to block them out. We've got better at ignoring them because we have to. It's created a blindness to ad. So we really need to think through our messaging psychologically and use cutting-edge tactics to get noticed. And so I want to show you guys what we've done on the actual Dealer Inspire platform to counteract this blindness, to get through these defenses, and how our homepage design specifically breaks through these defenses. So let's take a look at a couple common visual problems that websites in the auto space have had, how brains react poorly to them, and what Dealer Inspire did to fix them. So let's start on your homepage. This is obviously your most important page. It's the difference between engaging a customer and just immediately losing them within a couple seconds. And from what I've seen, Dealer Inspire is truly the only platform out there that offers brains what they want on the homepage. And I can prove it with science. So most dealerships use rotating offers as the main set piece of their homepage, as seen in this example. Is the same homepage, just showing the different sliders going through every couple seconds. They often take up half the page, which is nearly everything you're seeing above the fold. That's the first impression to customers. But because of this defense that we've built up, people don't even see them. They're blind to them. No matter what website, platform, or industry, these sliders aren't getting a lot of click-throughs, and there's been a lot of studies on this, and they're coming back unanimous. In fact, the opening slider tends to get around 1% click-throughs, while the rest may not get any. That 1% click-through rate has been found across industries, not just auto. For example, Notre Dame University performed like a huge scale study. They came to the same conclusion. People just aren't responding to sliding banners, and it's because of brains. Our brains have 3 layers, and the oldest part is kind of like the most primal part of the brain. We share even similarities with reptiles in this part of the brain. It's called the R complex, and the R actually stands for reptilian. So this part of the brain is mostly concerned about like basic animal needs and survival. It still thinks that we're out on the savannah about to be eaten, but luckily we're just probably in our pajamas with our laptop looking for a car. But the brain is still, despite that, naturally conditioned to react to sudden movement in our line of vision, like it's a matter of life and death. So together, this part of the brain and the human eye react to movement on the screen, such as these sliders that are moving across the screen every couple seconds. So that sounds like a good thing because the sliders are forcing our brains to notice their movement. The problem is that it's causing rapid eye movement. And when we quickly glance at the slider and see that there's nothing to hunt, i.e. like a deal or events that we're not interested in, we immediately ignore it, and now that entire section of the website is blind to us. We don't look at it again. And we've proven this through heat maps. We use PT Engine at Dealer Inspire, and we can see this. So in other words, the chances that the banner displayed at the exact moment it catches the user's eye is showing exactly what the user is on the hunt for is very slim. So if I landed on this home page, that slider is going to catch my eye for a split second, but I'm going to look at it, I'm going to immediately realize I'm not looking for a truck that doesn't part of the section. Now a lot of homepage, that entire section of the homepage. Now a lot of home pages, it's even larger than that. Also, another factor why these don't work is too many messages equals no message. You're adding to the sensory overload. You're part of the problem by trying to throw a new offer at them every 3 seconds, and nothing is getting through. The simplest message is the one that gets through. So in other words, these sliders have both the primal part of our brain and the more modern conditioned part of our brain telling us to ignore them. So that's not good. This psychological behavior and the analytical results that prove it, it changed the way that we design our home pages. Thinking through human behavior in this way led to the effectiveness and I think the beauty of the home pages that we use now. And so let's take a look. So this is an example of one of our sites getting rid of sliders and using an HTML5 background. This is a way you make a first impression, right? HTML5s do a lot of positive things at once for our brains without distracting them. You sink into it and they tell a story that still flows with the functionality of the site. The video establishes itself as part of the community. It shows what the inside of the dealership looks like, which actually alleviates customer anxiety and reluctance to visit. That's also why getting Google 360s are really important for that customer anxiety. You can hit us up for those as well. We have a Google photographer on staff. But anyway, the video really acts as a background. It puts all the focus on the one USP. It keeps things simple. So the main benefit you want to get across actually gets through those defenses. And it also lets the user feel like they're in control. We have hover effects here, and we've given them the tools right up front, right in their line of vision to get after what they want, because they came here for a purpose, and our job is to make it as easy as possible for the user to find their purpose and achieve their goal. Now, one of the other most important parts of the HTML5 background is that it puts a real face on your dealership. The thing we look for from the day we are born is other faces. Babies, even before their eye muscles are capable of focusing, they still turn to look at their mothers. Our brains are built to seek out faces even before we can see them clearly. So we're drawn to them, but what do we feel when we look at them? We have different neurological responses for different people and for each different micro-emotion their faces express. So you can't just choose any face to show. Now, stock photos are a huge part of online marketing, and there's a good reason for that. Images play a huge important role in how people engage with websites and online content, because really any page that's text only will look like a lot of work to people. It will give them terrible flashbacks to homework and essays from high school. And the page will have a really high bounce rate because of that. People don't want to put in a lot of work and read 500 words. So marketers throw in images to make the page prettier and more inviting. And we use stock photos because it's the easiest option and oftentimes the only option that we have at our disposal. But dealers who go the extra mile and send us real pics of their dealership to use are more likely to cause a positive, engaging connection with their customers. If you take pictures of your dealership, of your real employees and customers, unique, relevant content is always going to win the day. And the truth is that users call BS on these stock images, even if it's subconsciously. Your customers know what's up, like that woman bouncing around the homepage wearing a headset. Your user knows that she's on a million different websites. She's probably selling insurance a couple clicks away. And that actually does affect the effectiveness of your website. And it creates really like a distrust with your brand. It creates a negative emotional response. So there have been studies about this. And these are cross-industry studies. And they've been shown that CTAs with real employees and or customers are 35% more effective. That means they get 35% more click-throughs. That is like a huge opportunity to capitalize on. You can take more pictures around your dealership and send them over to us, or we can send our photographer over to you. That the effort to do that is not nothing, but it's such a huge opportunity for it to be that much more effective. And it's worth it to give your site visitors a positive first impression that will keep them on the site and start the foundation for a positive ongoing bond with your dealership. And so our HTML5 homepage videos is the best example of that. We make them in-house, and they're definitely the best place to start because not only do they make the first impression, but they make a really impactful impression. You're seeing the actual salesman engaged with customers. That's the guy you're going to see when you walk in the door, and that makes a huge difference. So that is just, and I mean, you can just see it here. It's awesome. We don't have to break down just how good it looks. It just is. So that's a small sample of the psychology and user behavior that we use and we consider when designing sites. But it's a big part of the reason that Dealer Inspire is so infecting and engaging users right off the bat. We really only went homepage deep, really only the top section of the homepage, and we think through these kind of things for the entire sitemap, for the entire functionality of the site. But I hope you can kind of see the benefit in getting real with Dealer Inspire. So there's one last thing I wanted to go over, and it comes back to this defense that we've built up and how we kind of block out ads. And this is something we've really been talking a lot about at Launch Digital Marketing. And this last innovative way to get through these defenses, it kind of brings together the psychological principles we've been talking about so far, and it also adds a social component to it. When we start talking about how people are building up these defenses to ads and this blindness and getting better at ignoring them, we start talking about how we could do an ad campaign without ads. And this is a case study for that. A user-generated social media contest where your customers advertise for you. In this particular one, a dealership was hosting an autograph signing event with Andrew Shaw from the Chicago Blackhawks. So we built a comprehensive campaign around that to get customers to participate in a social media contest to meet him. All they had to do was post a picture or a video of themselves on social media, reenacting one of Shaw's goal celebrations, and they could win a chance to meet him. And beyond just being adorable, this was a really effective campaign because these posts were advertising on behalf of the dealership's brand, and they didn't look like ads. You know, these are real people. They look like real content in your social media feed. So when you're scrolling through, it's not an ad that you're going to automatically want to skip over as fast as possible. It looks like content, organic content that belongs in your feed. It looks like it could be one of your friends or somebody you know. So it's much more likely to catch your attention. It's not easily ignored. These posts caused major spikes in traffic to the site, social media engagement, and brand awareness. And of course, you know, each of these posts were free. We weren't paying for the ad placement. That's just showing how much more engagement there was because of these posts. So let's kind of break down why this worked. Well, part of it is math. User-generated campaigns have exponential growth. So when one user takes a selfie, all of her social media friends can see it. But that's not all, because of those friends who like it, now all of their friends can see it. So that's exponential growth. And again, this is all free. They're doing this for you. They are sharing your brand on your behalf to not only everyone they know, but everyone that they know knows. Okay. And there's also, of course, one more psychological principle to go along with this. The fact is we like what other people like. This is a famous experiment from Solomon Asch. He showed that others' opinions can override even the most obvious of facts. He had college students participate in a perceptual task, along with a group of other students who were in reality actors hired by him. So the participants were shown a card with a line on it, Exhibit 1, followed by a card with 3 lines on it, A, B, and C. They were then asked to say out loud in front of the class which line of A, B, and C is the same length as Exhibit 1. Shawnee, which line matches the length of the first line, do you think?
Let's see. I have my slide rule out. I'm going to say that it's A.
Yeah, it's absolutely A. But what if before you had to answer in front of everybody in the webinar, what if everybody else said that the answer was B? Do you think you would stand by saying it was A, or would you kind of like go along with the crowd?
I would definitely go along with the crowd.
Right, it's a pretty powerful influence, and so this is what happened in the experiment. Uh, the teacher had all these actors, all of them say confidently that the answer was B, and the one guy in the room that was really taking the test and was not in on the joke, he went with B. And this happened time and time again. People were continuing to choose the wrong answer, even though it was clearly wrong, just because everyone else was. So this is kind of proof of how other people have a huge influence on what we think, what kind of things we want to buy, what brands we're interested in. If people see that others are liking and interacting with your brand, they will be way more inclined to hop on the bandwagon and get engaged with your brand as well. And social signals are actually now playing a huge role in SEO. Google and other search engines recognize the value that users place on the opinions that they're putting stock in users' opinions on social media websites. So I really think these type of campaigns are going to play a big part in the future of marketing. But paid ads certainly aren't going anywhere. That blindness is broken down with exposure. Paid ads just work way too well. And not to add another principle to this webinar, but the Zajonc principle proves that continued exposure to ads does get through. People like what they've seen before. They're more likely to like what they know. And so paid advertisements are still very effective. But Shawnee, I'm completely out of psychological principles. That's all I got.
That seems to be the. Hold on, I'm gonna mute you. Yeah, I know that for myself when I'm on Facebook and I see somebody liking something else, and there's a significant amount of my friends liking it. I might not even know what it is, but I'm gonna like it because obviously my friends like it. It's legit. I should probably check it out because if my friends who are like minds, if they like it, then I'll probably end up liking it too.
Unmuted.
I've actually noticed even more specifically that when I'm scrolling through my newsfeed, I will see that friend's name before I even, and their name is small on top of the ad, but I always catch my friend's name well before I see the entire huge ad beneath it. So it's just really an effective way to get people's attention. And with a campaign like that where people, it's not just liking, it is a really high level of engagement where you're not just seeing your friends like it, you're seeing your friends go outside and take a video or do a dance or do a celebration. And the more they're engaged, the more likely you are to take notice.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's the real deal.
All right. So, is that the last slide?
Yeah, that was it.
All right. Hold on. Let me. We got some echoing going back there, Mark. So I'll unmute you when I'm ready to hear your melodious voice. So yeah, as you can see, and a lot of you guys could probably even relate to a lot of these principles. Going back to the exponential growth. I don't know. I know some of you of a certain age might remember I think it was a hair commercial where it was like this chick is telling like, can you tell your two friends and they'll tell two friends and they'll tell two friends, and like she kept like a bunch more kept showing up on the screen. I mean, that's something that's always going to happen. That's here. That's our brain. That's human. That's evolution. That's psychological. So yeah. So these things are, they're tools. They're not tricks. There's nothing shady or anything about them, but they are tools. Especially to kind of help people, steer. It's all about steering people to, something that's going to work out for everybody. So I hope that you are able to, really glean something from this. And Mark did a really amazing job in putting all this information together and backing it with science because it's so important. So, Mark, do you have any other closing things?
No, thanks a lot, John. It was a lot of fun.
Excellent. All right. Mark, if you could go to the last slide for me, that would be awesome. So if you guys have any questions, you can send them. You can send them straight to me at dihowdoi@dealerinspire.com. You can reach Mark at MMCCARTHY at Launch Digital Marketing. His slide somewhere in the beginning. We'll get to that. Um, or just give us a call, give us a holler, and we'll get any questions for you. If you're interested, if you have more questions about HTML5 videos and 360 videos and how that'll help your dealership, please shoot an email to sales@dealerinspire.com. HTML5 videos are amazing. They really add to your site. They give it some pop. There's some really amazing graphics out there. And the best thing is like, because I know a lot of the question, one of the big question is, will it bog down your site? No, it will not. It only enhances. So HTML5 and WordPress go hand in hand. They're like they're going steady, and they work really well together. So uh, give us a shout if you want to ask about that. So our next webinar is going to be Keeping It Local with Mary Lane. She's going to be talking about everything you didn't know about local search, and just how to make sure that if somebody's looking you up, you know exactly where you are and what you're all about, and being accessible to people who are looking for you. And many of you probably already got the survey in your emails. Please make sure to fill that out. Get some great information. So we'd like to see more. And without further ado, I want to thank you, Mark. Thank you so much for putting this thing together here and doing such a great job.
Muted.
Thanks a lot, Shawnee.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, if any of you need additional training for yourself or your staff, then please contact me at dihowdoi@dealerinspire.com. Check out our page at dealerinspire.com/dihowdoi and make sure you sign up for the next webinar. So thank you all for listening. I'm Shawnee, the trainer of technologies for innovative dealers such as yourself, and I can't wait to see you all next week. Take care.